Welcome to the Beauty Blend podcast, where we delve deep into the world of beauty from the inside out. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Brittany.
And we're happy to have you guys back today. So thanks for joining us, beauties.
Today we're kind of doing an uncomfy topic.
A little bit. Yeah, like I'm getting nervous.
I
know. But we've been saying we wanted to talk about this a little bit more. So
basically about your
just
body weight.
Struggles with weight.
Yeah.
And weight issues and all that stuff.
I feel like women in particular really deal with this. I know men do too, but I don't know if...
They definitely... Okay, so I got to laugh because it is uncomfy just to even say the word weight. And you got to think about why that even is. It's because all the weird connotations behind all of it.
And also, I feel like you're not supposed to comment on it anymore.
No.
You know? It's kind of a private matter.
I know it's a little off topic, but I just yesterday was at the gym and there's a girl that I work out with all the time. Like I know her. She's much older than me, but doesn't matter. We're good friends now. And there's like this thing that they do called the Transformation Challenge, and that's coming up here soon. Mm-hmm. And so I was asking her, I was like, oh, hey, are you going to do the Transformation Challenge again this year? Because we all did it last year. And I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to. I was like, because I never really lose drastic weight. So what's the point of paying to be in this when I'll just keep doing, what I normally do? And this lady made the comment. She goes, I know it's weird. And she's like, because we got plenty to lose. And kind of like threw me in that whole, like, we have plenty to lose. Yeah. And immediately I'm like, why did I get brought?
That's not really where I was hoping to go with this.
I was like, why did I get brought into that? But the whole the comment, you're not really supposed to make comments. Like initially, I'm like, why'd she bring me into that?
Yeah.
But also, I was also like, well, you're not wrong. But she immediately backtracked. She's like, I mean me. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm like, I do too. Yeah. But it's just the whole principle is just a weird story. But I'm like, it's interesting how the word weight or the connotation towards everyone we get stressed immediately.
There was a minute there. I mean, I shouldn't say a minute. I know it still happens, but even skinny shamed. Yeah. Some people can't gain weight, and so
they're super little.
And they're always made fun of for being really skinny.
They can't gain, and then the people who are bigger get mad at them because they're like, I can't gain weight. And we're like, oh,
I know, poor you. It's so hard to lose weight, Actually, at the end of the day, both are hard.
It's so sad. I know. No, you're right. It's actually really mean that we do that.
Yeah, it's out of insecurity, obviously.
It really is. So yeah, just even like you said, men. I mean, I know men who deal with it too. It's just
true. I know men that struggle with just eating because they feel like I don't know. Maybe it's happened more as they get older, so they're starting to see the weight come on a little bit more or something. I don't know, but I do think at the end of the day, when it comes to eating, at least a lot of times it's a reflection of feeling a lack of control. I mean, maybe I'm coming to conclusions here, but just from observing in my own experience, I feel like you either overeat or you undereat because of this feeling of lack of control somewhere.
But I will also argue that weight doesn't always have to do with what you do.
No, it doesn't. I'm talking about eating, though.
Eating, though.
I'm not talking about weight. I'm talking about the eating.
Wording eating, yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that's clear for everybody, though. Okay. People are going to get mad that the weight with eating is the same.
Everyone's seeing we're getting triggered already.
Well, I just know how people will respond to that. But yeah, you're right. Eating either under or eat too much and the portions and all that.
And I feel like it has to do with your nervous system and...
For sure. Like you said, control. Or comfort. Some people it feels like it calms them, like you said, with their nervous system.
Because of lack of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true.
Not saying a lack of control because you're eating too much. I'm saying in your life, there's something that's going on, and the food in some way is bringing some kind of comfort. Or for me, I have the opposite where I don't want to eat when I'm feeling anxious or out of control. I seriously it's like something turns off, and I can't. And it's also a way of control, though.
Mm-hmm. I always say there's two. So if I get anxious, I'm not going to eat because I'm sick to my stomach already. And so food, I'm like, there's no such thing as hunger to me. But then sometimes I get out of the anxiety and it puts me into maybe a little mild depression. When I'm in that depressive phase, I'm going to eat too much. So I go from so sometimes if I'm feeling anxious, it does kind of put me into this dip of then kind of getting sad after. So I go from not eating to then kind of wanting to binge eat. And I think that's kind of an interesting flip. Instead of going back to it being normal, it's now I just want to eat everything because it's comforting to me and I feel whole almost when I've had it. Yeah. But when I'm anxious, I'm the same way. I'm not even going to think about food. There's it's not even a thought in my head.
So what's your weight journey been like then since you're
a mess? Still continuing. A mess.
You recently lost a lot of weight though.
I lost a decent amount of weight recently. I mean, I'm still trying. Gained a lot of I'll call it old relationship weight with an ex of mine. Gained a ton of weight. That was unhealthy. But no, I've always, since I was little, Brittany brought this to my realization that I was a big baby. So when I was born, the first thing that I even was ever told was, wow, you're so big. And that was literally from birth my whole life. And then I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and it's already hard enough being compared to siblings all the time. And I was always bigger, but actually looking back, I'm like, I wasn't even that big. But I think compared to my teeny tiny little sisters, I was a much bigger. Mm-hmm. And then we chose sports that were all about your body, like the cheerleading.
I think a lot of them are.
That's true. And being athletic. No, you're right.
Because a lot of times, yeah,
you're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I think a lot about cheerleading because we were in, the crop tops and the booty shorts, and if your belly was hanging out, that's not cute.
Yeah, and you knew you probably weren't that.
And people said stuff to you because it was the type of sport that people would say that to you. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of sports like that. Yeah, dances like that. I mean,
what you call a flyer, which is the people that they lift up. And I remember being told, "Oh, did you eat too much today? Because you're feeling heavier today." I'm like, okay. Yeah. And man, I was in middle school, so of course that affects your
messes with you. Yes. Yeah. And then I'd say, if we're just going to use cheerleading again as an example, your position in the sport literally is dependent on your body size. Mm-hmm. So you were literally lined up all the time based on your size all the time. I think that's just harder when you're young and a female and not really sure. And I think we had parents who didn't know how to handle those conversations either, and they weren't really sure how to navigate. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a different generation. I think in our generation, if I had a child that was maybe going through that, I would probably handle that differently. But that's just because looking back, I mean, I can't blame the parents for that. It's just a different conversation I think that we have nowadays.
Well, they had their parents had the mentality, it was like a moment on the lips, whatever, on the hips. That's
why I'm I can't be mad at the parents because it's what they were taught different things too. Mm-hmm. So not blaming my parents, love you guys, but I'm just saying there's different ways I would approach it now, knowing more. But yeah, I've kind of always just fluctuated. I feel like I've always been bigger, but I have fluctuated.
Why do you think you gained weight in your most recent relationship?
Well, if we're getting real deep on it, I think it was a way of, I think there's a lot of reasons. One, I think just our lifestyle together was not the healthiest.
What'd you guys do?
We like to drink a lot of happy hours and eating, and
I'm not out a lot or what?
Yeah, I'd say we ate out. I tried not to because he was gone a lot, so I tried not to eat out a lot. But when he was home, yes, I think we ate out a lot because I'm not the best cook, and not for stuff that he liked. And he never cooked, so we just would, and we loved happy hours, our way to hang out. So we went to happy hour, we eat out, and that was it. Mm-hmm. Or just we'd get in the car and go for drives and get ice cream, just little things like that add up.
Thing that
it was super social for us.
That's hard, I think.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what we did. That was our hanging out was going to happy hour. That was our way of catching up on lives. And then I think a lot of it was, I think this has actually been my thing since childhood. If we're really getting deep into it, I think I gain weight as a protective. It's to protect myself.
Oh, for sure.
So I think I started gaining weight after my parents' divorce, not knowing that's what it was until years and years later. Mm-hmm. And then I think in the relationship, I think there's a lot more going on wrong than I consciously was aware of, but subconsciously it did not feel safe or secure. So I think I put on a lot of weight as a safety blanket almost. And then I think when I got out of a relationship, I was well, one, I look horrible. You want to feel better because I'm dating again. Mm-hmm. And I think you just realize what was causing a lot of that. So, and health-wise, I was not very healthy. I was starting to have health issues. So that's always been a thing. So I don't know. I feel my weight has kind of come and go from bad habits, but then there have definitely been times in my life where my habits are what they tell you to do, what everyone tells you to do, and I still struggle, to lose. Even now, I work really hard. There's definitely days I don't do great. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I don't do bad. And, I still struggle to lose. And I think that's a lot with hormones. And, I'm getting all that stuff kind of figured out. But, yeah, I think I've just always fluctuated. And it's been kind of hard to deal. And then what's hard about that is clothes. Right now, I feel my clothes, I'm either they're too baggy or big on me, but I'm not ready to get new clothes because
baggy's kind of a trend right now. But it's not fun when you're
but when you're already bigger, baggy's not cute because it makes you look bigger.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah,
I don't even feel I'm bigger necessarily, but I still feel it can make me look.
It makes you look bulky or whatever, especially thick things. But then it's also there's a part of it's comforting again because you feel you can hide a little bit behind it, which is also dangerous. But I think the bigger issue is when you do start losing weight again. Actually, a good girlfriend of mine and I were talking about this. It's because she lost a decent amount of weight too. We don't want to get rid of our old clothes because we're we'll probably be back. It's you assume you're going to be back there another time anyway. Even if you don't want to say that part out loud, it's a subconscious thing of well, I'm going to probably need it in a year or two. Who knows?
Okay, well, you've said a lot though.
I have. I'm sorry.
I want to backtrack to what you said about safety thing and the comfort. I actually do meditations where I tell this sounds so weird, but I do sound like I tell my fat cells that they can relax. And
I need to do that.
I even tell my body, like, it's safe. You can let go of the extra weight that you're holding on to for comfort. Like, it's safe to let. And I can literally feel it kind of dissipate. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll be doing that.
I don't
together.
I mean, your ways. Especially when I was doing it more regularly, like, I didn't have any extra.
Nothing going on.
Like, I just felt like it helped get rid of that extra thing that I was holding on to. Yeah. I should say it that way. Like, not that I didn't have, in particular around, like, the stomach and stuff. So.
Okay. Well,
anyway.
I'll try anything. I'm just kidding.
I should give a shout out to who it was for. Who does it? It was Lacey Phillips. She has a program called To Be Magnetic, and she has different meditations. And that was one of them.
I've done tapping before for weight loss, but I think tapping was great for it, but I don't think I was really in the mindset for it yet, if that makes sense. Like, I think you have these tools, but you still have to be ready to use them. And I don't think I was really, or I think I was just thinking that was it. All I need to do was tap and I could do whatever still. But it was like, you should be tapping, but then still trying to be healthy and like doing other things. I think that was my issue.
Well, I'll say what helped me. This also sounds woo, so I think it's going to trigger some people, to be honest. But I will say, from someone who had an eating disorder, what kind of helped me, I had a lot of shame associated with food. So when I started eating again, I gained a lot of weight back. I think partly metabolism was really messed up, but two, I was carrying shame with it. So everything I ate, I felt shameful, and I feel like your body picks up on that.
Definitely.
And so it holds on to it. So now I don't when I'm eating fries, I'm not feeling shameful about it. And then I feel like that also helps me not overeat and all of that and be weird about things. Like, I feel like I can just enjoy food now without feeling all the other thoughts coming.
So to piggyback on that, when I was doing this tapping, and the program was Jessica Ortner, so I'll give you a shout out because the story is from her, and it has stuck with me ever since. And she said, because she had struggled with weight issues, she's who does the emotional freedom tapping. So she's who, like, her and her brother, I think, have it together. So that's who I was doing this. Was like a weight loss tapping program, and a story she told about her own experiences. Her and like a girlfriend of hers were out like in New York, and they were walking around all day, and they decided to stop and get gelato. And she was getting gelato, and her friend got gelato, and as she's eating it, Jessica started I'm probably butchering the story, it's not specific, but I'll get to the point of it, is as she was eating it, Jessica's like, I really should not eat this. Like, how are you able to eat it and stay skinny? Why do I eat it and I gain all this weight? Do that. And her friend looked at her and she goes, well, we're not eating the same thing. She goes, I'm eating gelato. Yes. She goes, you're eating guilt. Exactly what I'm trying to say. Yes. That's put perfectly. Yes. She's like, we're not eating the same thing. Yeah. And Jessica was like, from that moment, it like changed her mindset. And ever since I've heard that, I'm like, I do have to like bring that back into my head every now and then. But I'm like, that is so true, because you're right. The guilt or the shame or whatever it is behind it, you're eating that. You're literally putting that into your body. Think of your brain, your subconscious. The way it's holding on to it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a good point as well. And I think, like, I am a picky eater. I've always been a picky eater. So I think I've always kind of been shamed even for the foods I choose or did used to choose. So then, like, even now, even though I eat a lot better than I used to, when I go to grab the old stuff that I used to eat, because I think I deserve it every now and then, I still feel guilty because I was so shamed for it back in the day and was, like, told that that's why I gained all this weight. I think that can be hard to get rid of. So, yeah, I think, again, doing things like tapping on it or, like, bringing that into your realization that it's okay, it's safe. I think that's a great thing that you do. I need to probably start doing something like that. Those little, let it go. I feel like I eat a decent amount. Yeah, I think you see, and like, okay, so I feel like that's where the difference can be sometimes, because I don't feel like I take on that energy. And I'm not saying I'm like perfect or whatever, but from where I have a different mindset, it's big for you. Completely different. And for someone that had an eating disorder for 10 years, that's pretty big to get to a point where you feel fine eating. I have a good friend, and him and I were talking about food because he calls himself a foodie, but if you actually look at him, I call myself that. But it's kind of funny because I think people who say that, you actually probably have a really healthy relationship with food. Like I actually just said this to me the other day. I was like, you have the most healthy relationship with food of anyone I've ever met. And he knows like what to eat, when to eat it, but he doesn't like overthink it. Like he's not feeling guilty if he does eat an Oreo. He just knows his intuition too. Like maybe he might need some extra sugar right now. And he's like an intuitive eater, I feel like, to begin with. Like he knows what to eat and when to eat it, and he doesn't like make it a big deal. He's like, he worries if I've eaten, like he's like always checking to make sure I had something good to eat. And I said to him, I was like, I'm honestly so jealous of your relationship with food and how healthy. And I don't think he understands what I mean by that, but I'm like, you have like what I dream to have, a relationship with food. Yeah. Like it's just amazing. Even when he had like a little, not panic, but he was like, I feel like I gained a little weight, but he's like, it's okay though. He's like, it'll come off. Like he doesn't worry. Yeah. And I'm like, I would be freaking out. Yeah. And he's just like, nah, it's okay. He's like, it'll come off. And I sure it already has for him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, just the whole relationship.
No, yeah, I just thought I do happy dances when I'm eating. Yeah. And I was just like, wait a minute. Yeah. I used to laugh and just kind of joke at it, but at the end of the day, that is actually probably a positive thing.
It's a great thing, especially, again, with your
the shame thing.
Yeah. No, seriously, that's...
Anyway.
You're like, I can eat. Yeah, so share, some of what you've been
doing. Well, I know I've talked about it in the past, but so starting in high school, with our parents' divorce and things, I developed an eating disorder. And what I was told by my psychologist was it was because I was feeling lack of control in my life. So for me to, like, withdraw from food or, like, try to portion it out and this whole strict thing where my whole day revolved around that was, like, a coping mechanism, basically. And then once I kind of healed my relationship with my parents, because that was chaos, that turned into bulimia for like 10 years. So like I definitely did not have a good relationship with food for a long time. And because I wasn't eating though, and then when I did eat, I gained a bunch of weight. Right. But then I lost it though, but still I had bulimia. I don't know. Yeah. I think that was the initial shock of my body though, was gaining the weight. Yeah. But then fast forward just this past year, turning 35, nothing to do with the eating disorder, but I realized my hormones went out of whack. All of a sudden I wasn't like, you wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, wow,
I never noticed
fat, but like I felt bigger in my, like for me though, I'm 5 foot tall, so like if I gain 5 pounds, like I can feel it. I feel
you notice it faster.
I've noticed it more, and honestly, it was kind of gradual. And then I just got on the scale one night, and I was like, what happened?
You're like, hello.
And I remember crying to you because I was like,
yeah, she was upset.
I didn't feel like I did anything that was like that.
You haven't changed what you've been doing.
I will say I was in school though, so I was probably a little bit more sedentary. Yeah. Like I still worked out in the morning, but I was only doing like 20, 30-minute Pilates, which for a while was fine. That kind of started during COVID when the gyms closed. And I remember that. I remember because I always had the mentality before that
you kind of had the relationship, the COVID at the same time. Yeah. And then you went to school. So you probably felt like what happened.
Oh, yeah. Where did that? Yeah. Well, but it happened within the last year because I actually was pretty skinny the year before. That's why I know it was like a hormone thing. All of a sudden, yeah. What was I going with that?
Sorry. So about the gym in 2020.
Oh, yeah. I used to have the mindset that you have to be in the gym at least an hour every day before the gym's closed. So then I started doing Pilates, and I remember being kind of like reluctant because I was like, this is an at-home workout. It's only 20 minutes. Like,
you barely sweat sometimes.
And I'm like, yeah. I was like, how? And this girl's like ripped. I'm like, she just must be like genetically blessed. I didn't really buy it, but I was like, what else can I really do right now? But I realized like that there is something about easing like into your body and like I wouldn't say being so harsh on your body.
Movement in general.
And like I feel like you start to feel the love for yourself more by just like taking a step back. So for a while that did work, but when my hormones started to change, I was like, okay, now I have to like kind of find something else that can kind of amp it up. But I still don't want to like overdo it. So I found a new thing. I'll shout it out in case anyone's interested. Tracy Anderson from she has like, it's called TAM, like it's hard to explain, but it's like a mix of like dance, Pilates.
It's fun, yeah. Switch it up.
And she like focuses on your accessory muscles, so not like your big muscle groups, because she says those get overworked and kind of just like bulk up or just don't like react the same after a while.
I see that.
So
you've been loving it, and you did other things. You took some. You kind of got.
I had to take some supplements too to kind of balance out my hormones. And now I feel like I'm kind of back to where I was before. I don't feel like I have much to lose.
Yeah, you haven't complained about it at least. I
haven't.
For a while. Yeah.
No, I actually noticed today my stomach is back to like.
That's awesome.
And I remember before I was wanting to. We should talk about like non-invasive ways to treat it down the road, but I still kind of want to do that just to see. But I was like desperate for it like a year ago because I was like, this stubborn belly fat that won't go away, which I knew a lot of it was hormonal.
Yeah. It was just stressful because you hit an age, and it's like when the age that unfortunately we are told as women, like things start to go downhill.
And I knew that, but I didn't really know it.
But like, it's annoying to hear it, and then you're like, oh.
It's actually happening.
It might be happening. Yeah. But I think you kind of, not reversed it, but you're actually doing great now.
Yeah, I feel
so it didn't have to. So my point of that is just because she hit 35 doesn't mean
everything has to go downhill. You just have to readjust and reevaluate things and
do things a little different. Yeah. And now look, she's doing great. But yeah, she came kind of crawling in one day. It was sad because
I was sad.
No, she was sad. She was really sad.
I was like, is this it?
Is this it?
My hair is falling out. Has the day come?
Yeah, her hair was thinning.
Yeah, it was like, oh gosh.
Now again, to me, she looked great, but to her, she wasn't feeling her best.
You don't
so that
feel
matters.
Like yourself.
Yes, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we thankfully have stuff in our clinic to help. But
yeah, that's true. You got me on Nutrafol. We did some hair restoration treatments.
Yeah. We haven't done the stomach.
We haven't done my stomach. We did do this for me, which kind of helped.
Did her neck and chin. Yeah. But we have like a non-invasive body contouring device, so it does fat reduction and skin tightening.
I think it's kind of funny that we both kind of struggled with weight, but we haven't
done
it. It's like we're like resistant
to
it or something. We're blocked there.
We gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
Those
are great for people that have been working on like their diet, they're working out, they just have some extra stubborn areas, I would say.
And it's not invasive, no pain. It feels like a warm massage, and you have no downtime, which is huge. And then the hair loss, like you said, with hormones and all like aging, you're thinning hair. It was nice that you had a quick. That was relatively quick. In like 2-3 months, your hair was back
coming
to normal.
back. Yeah.
So
I will say I noticed it in March. It's been almost a year now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm back.
Yeah, which is great. In the combination with some supplements and hormone balancing.
You had an experience, though, PCOS, right? Or you're not sure if that's what it was.
Yeah, I kind of have a weird belief. We believe I have PCOS.
That's what's annoying is doctors are terrible at diagnosing.
So that's why I get a little frustrated with the weight conversation sometimes, because I think, to me, and I know this, people are more aware, but I'm like, I think people look at me and they're like, will you just sit at home and eat bonbons all day? And I actually work very hard. No, very, very hard.
I feel like I eat at least twice as much, if not 3 times more than you.
100%. And that's not, 100%. And I don't mean that in a bad way. No. I think I have an issue if I don't eat enough. I think that could be part of my problem.
I do think so too.
Yeah. But
she's definitely not sitting there with a bowl
cookies and cake all night.
And like bed.
And chips and at midnight. Like I'm not, I swear. I promise. And I work out like 5 times a week. And so I get frustrated because is like the view I think people do sometimes have of me. Like, oh, you just need to get to the gym more. And I'm like.
I'm very defensive of that when people like get mad about people that are overweight. Like they're the problem. And I don't always think that's the case.
It's definitely not. And again, I'll admit, like in my relationship, was I doing things I should have been doing? No. And I wasn't working out as much. And so, yes, I was. The extra weight I gained, that was a problem. But I still hold on to a lot of weight. And I've always, if we're getting into it, like I've always had irregular cycles and all this. I get like hormonal acne. I really have struggled with weight for a long time, but especially once I hit my teens on up. And so, I've kind of gone back and forth on the polycystic ovarian syndrome, the PCOS, which is an issue with like insulin resistance. And ironically, I have had, in the past doctors who thought maybe I was diabetic, but I'm really not diabetic, but I have insulin problems. So the PCOS kind of has always made sense. But even then, it's hard to get a diagnosis. And then even then, if you get a diagnosis, it doesn't really matter because there's nothing they have in the world for it right now. Like there's really no solution. So I've tried a lot of different like functional medicine doctors, and I'm with one right now, and I really do firmly believe he's the reason I've definitely changed some habits, but I think he's the reason I've lost more weight and I'm continuing to lose weight is working with him. I'd love to have him. I was going to say, I'd love to have him on the pod. I'm working on it. We want to get him. He totally, I think, would. I just was building that relationship with him. Basically, it was kind of like we just talked about the cellular level. He's addressing my cells, basically helping them reorganize and figure out how to heal my body and feel safe.
That's what's funny to me. I feel like you're kind of
it is. Yeah. And just there's other things like I have radon issues from the past that is causing some of that. So like there's just more in my body going on. So my body's not able to process losing weight because it's in overdrive handling a few other things. So I'm working on clearing those out.
Does he talk about metals at all?
Yes. That's actually came up for me today. I have like diesel in my cells.
I was listening to this guy called the Medical Medium, and he talked about how like metals kind of rule our brains and our minds, and like we can have take over. Yeah. I'm
definitely going to get him on here because I think that would be a really interesting conversation. He is like a wealth of knowledge and he's great at explaining things. But I've been going to him, I don't know, since end of summer, I feel like. And that was when I started, like, my clothes started, like, I was noticing some changes and people were starting to notice changes, but since I've been to him, I, like, feel better. I'm actually noticing more progress in the gym. Like, that's the other thing. I work out 5 times a day, but I never felt like I was going anywhere.
I will say this, though. I think with PCOS, if you were to have it, you're not really supposed to be doing like high intensity stuff. You're supposed to be more like
walking even is just great. Yeah. Which I was doing a lot of still too, especially with my dog. I'm not now because of our house. But I was doing a lot of walking. Yeah, I should be doing more Pilates and stuff like that though.
Stuff that's easier on your body, being gentler with it, not trying to put it hyper. They actually say sometimes that can increase like cortisol level.
Yes, I know.
Which in turn,
the problem is I love what I do for working out right now, but I do know that it may not be the best for me all the time.
Yeah,
like I need to probably mix it up a little bit.
You might
more.
like Tracy Anderson because she's kind of like the one thing I loved about HIIT, or it's called HIIT, high intensity interval training, was the changing it up because my ADD does
yes,
not
that's
like
why
to
I
keep
like
doing
it.
that.
My brain just,
And Tracy's always switching it up
that's
constantly.
good.
Yeah,
I would probably like that then.
Her whole mentality is like you are mimicking her, like you were a child, so she doesn't talk at all.
I like that
it's
too.
nice because you can like listen to different things while you're doing it. Yeah,
like a child.
Yeah.
Go back. Hey, that's probably healing in itself.
It is.
To be honest.
It's supposed to help your brain health.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, I need to check it out.
Yeah.
I agree with the PCOS. So I just always say I have PCOS, but no one really knows. I don't think I'll ever fully have an answer.
Right.
And right now I'm just going with whatever that doctor tells me, and it's working. But I think I just say that all because people who struggle with weight are not always lazy. There are definitely some who are, but there are not. Most of the time they are not, and they're wanting answers too. A lot of us aren't wanting to just sit around feeling icky.
Yeah.
I am glad I, finally am seeing changes, and I'm like feeling more confident. I crack my own self up, and I'm sure people notice it. But when I'm starting to feel better, like I take more pictures. Like one of my friends, she's like, I love like seeing you take like a mirror selfie. She's like, because you're feeling more confident and it's just fun when you finally are like feeling how you like, because sometimes you forget, like your brain doesn't process what you really look like. Mm-hmm. So like in my head, I'm thinner sometimes than I really am.
Oh, I definitely think I'm thinner than I am.
So yeah,
because I feel good in my body though.
And I think that's a better thing. Like now I'm feeling better. So even though I'm not as thin as I think my brain thinks I am, I'm just glad I actually feel a little better. Mm-hmm. So just getting that.
That's always been my goal, is just to feel good in my body. And I try not to weigh myself too much. When I do, it's just to kind of see, like, just to check in. But I maybe once a quarter weigh myself.
I don't do it at all because it's just defeating,
shameful
honestly.
Thing for you.
And I have to, like, say this, too. I'm not saying, like, oh, I'm so curvy and I'll always be big. But I am curvier, and I'm okay with the fact that I'll never be – I haven't fully accepted I'll never be tiny. And I don't think I really want to be tiny. I just want to slim down a little bit more, especially my tummy. But, like, I am curvy. I've got the curves. I'm never going to be a little stick-thin little thing. I was never even built that way as a child, to be honest. I was always a little thicker. Mm-hmm. And I think accepting your body type is also something that's hard for people to do. And we want to be the stick-thin, like, model. And that is just not where my body will ever be. And I'm okay with that, honestly. I like my curves. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose, honestly. And that's the other thing. Some people are like, well, you don't want to get too skinny because you're going to lose your curves. That is also annoying to hear because like,
no, I won't.
I'm like, trust me, I won't. But also, like, that's not all that I am. Yeah. So whatever happens when I lose weight is what happens, and I'm okay with it. So anyway, I digress on that. But I don't know. I don't have any like good advice for someone. I feel like
it's to take a look at obviously food and like exercise. But then if you're doing all those things, look at alternative, more in-depth analysis of what's happening. Because if you're doing those things and it's still not, maybe that requires meditation. Maybe it requires going to a more holistic doctor that can like help with the metals or whatever
you got trapped in there,
trapped in your body. That's causing
I think someone who can work on both. Like go to two different people if it has to be, but go to some.
I would seek all the knowledge. If you're like, I'm getting so frustrated because I'm working out and I'm eating right and it's still not happening. Why is that?
Because then what happens sometimes with people who are trying to lose weight and, they do all these things that they're supposed to do and it doesn't work, they give up, right? So then they are just going to stay. And they just kind of accept the fact.
To me, it lit a fire under my butt.
Well, it kind of does for me. But some people do just
I know, I get it. But I was just like, no, I refuse. I personally was like, I refuse to accept this.
That's the Aries in you.
It is.
The Taurus in me would be like, I've tried. No, I haven't stopped seeking answers either. No. But it has taken a lot of work. And there are some times where I'm like, my gosh, why is it so hard for me and not for everybody else? It can be frustrating you know, to watch. But I agree. Seek other things. Like, don't just accept someone just saying, oh, you eat too much.
Or you're not eating the right thing or whatever.
Yeah. Just go look for other answers, please. Because there might be something else or subconscious or energetically going on that you can't really explain just in words. So on that note, though, if you guys, again, have any other questions or comments or you want someone to talk about it.
Share your weight stories.
Yes, we're happy to hear or give our advice, or I can refer the people I've tried and the things I've done. I'm happy to give those out. Yeah. So, all right. So good. We're signing off, beauties.
Bye. Beauties.
Boxland Media. Think big.